Well, hello everyone. This is Annette with ASCardDesign and welcome to my weekly live. I see some of you coming in, so hey there 3D printed lures. Thanks for joining. If you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up. Just let me know sounds good, that you can see me, you can hear me. My hair's blowing because I have a fan blowing in my room because even though the temperatures are cooling off here in Central Ohio, it's still so hot in my craft room. I think I need to check my AC vent because it just does not cool down here. So good, thanks. I'm glad you can hear me, see me. I was having some audio issues this week, and it's just been a challenge. So I kind of had to reset my cameras, and I have a new microphone, so I hope you can hear me maybe a little bit better. I was using my microphone from my overhead camera, but now I have a mic on my desk, so hopefully that's all good. So I'm going to switch camera views to the desktop because we are going to make a masculine card. Oh, and before we start, I do want to say right now in the U.S. on the East Coast, our East Coast friends are kind of dealing with a hurricane, Hurricane Erin. So I want to just let everyone know on the East Coast that we're keeping you in our thoughts and prayers, and we just hope that hurricane blows out to sea very fast. All right, so we're going to make a masculine card, and I made this card. This is a card that I found. I was watching a video, and so this is an inspiration card. I'm just kind of not copying the design, but the idea, and I'm changing it up a bit. But the inspiration came from what's the name of the YouTube channel? Made to Create with Lisa. So if you go to YouTube and just search Made to Create with Lisa, one big long word, she has some really cool ideas, and I really like her channel. But she made this card that I'm going to show you tonight using different stamps and different papers. But this particular card that I'm going to share with you tonight, I made this for my son's birthday, and I wanted a masculine card that was a little quirky and that had a vintage vibe. So that said, and I don't have the card because today is his birthday. He already has the card, and I don't have another sample. So we're just going to recreate it. But I'm going to start with this paper pack from Park Lane, and it's called Calm and Cool. And I have to say, this is probably my favorite paper pad. And I got it at Michael's. But they're 12 by 12 pattern paper, and they're just one-sided. But they have the most beautiful patterns, and they're blues and browns, and they have a sea theme. Some of the paper patterns are foiled, like that one. Let me turn this around because I'm kind of blocking my light source. I don't know if that's going to be better, but they're just really cool patterns. There's two of each design. And some of them, you know, they're just kind of quirky, and I really like the stripes. But I went ahead and I already found the papers I wanted to use for this card. So these were the two designs I'm focusing on. And I've already cut my pieces, so that's why these are kind of half sheets, just to save time, because I want to focus on the stamps that I'm using, not so much the paper. So I'm going to put this aside, which means on the floor, and I've already cut out my panels, and I want to set this here in the screenshot, and I have all the card measurements, all these measurements in the description, all the stamps I'm going to be using. I have a link to Made to Create with Lisa's video, so everything's in the description. But I went ahead and cut all these pieces except for the base. I'm going to show you how to do that. But basically then you will want whatever paper you're using. You'll want two panels that measure 5 1/4 inch by 2 3/4. So that's what these are. You'll want one panel that measures 5 1/4 inch by 4. Okay. And you can take, again, you can take a picture of this or a screenshot if you want. And then you want one panel that is 2 1/2 inches by 5. And then these two panels I have right here, but instead of cutting them with my paper trimmer, I used GinaKDesigns Master Layouts 2. And these sizes 2 1/4 by 4 and 2 3/8 by 4 1/8. Those are the measurements of these smaller rectangular dies, and I used those dies to cut these two pieces out. One has a stitched border, and that's why I didn't cut it with my paper trimmer. I kind of wanted that stitched border because this is going to be where we're doing our stamping on this little piece of cardstock. So this is where our stamping is going to be, and then we have our shadow layer. Okay, all of this will make sense in just a few minutes. So I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to move this now because hopefully you have that. And so next we're going to take a piece of cardstock. This is going to be my base. It's just a brown, like a light brown color. And I'm going to bring in my timholtz guillotine paper trimmer. And for the base, let me bring this back in for just a second. We want a sheet that's 8.5 inches by 5.5. So this paper trimmer, this line on the edge is 5.5. But on the back here, we have an arm that will extend it. Okay, so we want to cut this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper or cardstock to, let's see, this is going to be 8.5 already. And this cardstock happens to be a little bit more than 8.5. So sometimes from the manufacturer that happens. So it's just a little bit more than 8.5. I'm going to bring it to 8.5 and just give it a little haircut. And I mean, that's how much it was over. Again, this pretty common, happens. So then we're going to flip it this way and we'll take it to the 5.5 mark and we'll chop it. And then we can save this piece for another day. So let me get this out because we're done with the paper trimming. And let me pull these aside. Okay, next we're going to bring in our scoring board. So with this 8.5 by 5.5 sheet of cardstock, we want to score it at 4 1/4 and 7 1/4. So hi Jerry, hey, thanks for joining. So we're scoring this card base, and again 4 1/4 right here. Just give it a score. Make sure your cardstock is all the way to the end, and then we're going to go to 7 1/4, which is this line right here, and just make sure everything's held down, and we will score that. Okay, and then we're done with our scoring board. And then we're just going to fold that down and fold this shorter flap up. Okay, and then I'm going to take my bone folder and crease it. So this is going to be our card base, and the card will open like this. So that's where I began. Now we're going to do some stamping, and I'm going to show you the stamp set I'm using. I love Timholtz collection. Timholtz makes these incredible stamps they have a vintage vibe, an old look to them, like old ledgers and numbers and really cool pictures, and they're red rubber stamps. So normally, if you watch me, I use photopolymer stamps. So these are a little bit different. And I'm also going to be using these stamps, this one in particular, and I'll show you closer here in a second, also from Timholtz. He has these really cool stamp and stencil sets. I've had this for so long. I have to tell you, when I first started making cards a couple years ago, Timholtz, I saw his videos and I really loved I love that vibe, that vintage, grungy, mixed media look. So I started buying his stamps and inks, and then I just really didn't know what to do. I'd watch videos, but I would try to make the cards and they just didn't come out. Like, I really didn't know what I was doing. So I've had these stamps and I have other ones, and I've had them for quite a while, but I busted them out and I made a card and I liked the way it came out. So we're going to use this guy, this Professor, and this stamp set is called the Professor. Okay, we're going to use him. And then we're also going to use, we're not going to use the stencil, but we're going to use, let me see if I can show you closer. We're going to use this stamp set, which is just this really scripty alphabet. And some of the lines kind of skip around to give it that old look, that vintage look vibe, or that ledger vibe. So that is what we're going to go with. Okay. So like I said, we're going to use this smaller panel to do all of our stamping. It's kind of crazy. And let's bring in the mini Misty. And this is just a stamping platform. We're going to do, oh, let's go this way. We're going to do a little bit of stamping first. I'm going to put that right up in the corner. And we're going to use, like I said, we're going to pull this stamp out and make sure it's going the right way. It's really hard to see. Here we go. And I'm going to just put it right about here. Right about like that. And then we'll pick the stamp up, put the paper back down. And then for this stamp, I'm going to stamp it with GinaKDesigns Light Spruce, because we just kind of want this to just blend in the background a little bit. It just needs to be faded on, like it doesn't really need to be well defined. My ink pad is drying up. Okay, so we have that. And then wipe this off. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's been good. Let's see, I might have to pull this way. I'm ready for sweater weather. How about you all? I'm done with this heat. Okay, so here I just moved the stamp over a little bit. I just want to offset it. And that's all I'm going to do with that. We're going to do some heat embossing, which is one of my favorite things to do. We're going to heat emboss this professor guy. Okay, so we'll put these away. We're done with this. All right, and then I'm going to set that off for a second. Let's pull the professor stamp, and these are pretty large stamps. I mean, when it stamps, you'll see all this really cool detail. It's just amazing. I love it. I normally am relaxing. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this larger Misty platform, and for the rubber stamps, you want to remove the foam insert because these stamps are thick, and you know we want it to be able to hit the paper, and these are just going to make everything like too, you know, it's just too thick. So what I did is I'm going to, where's my tape runner? I'm just going to take some tape runner, GinaKDesigns. I'm just going to put a little bit on the back just to hold this thing down. And we'll just put it like that. And hopefully it stays put. I do not want it to move. In fact, I am going to tape it because I just don't want to take any chances. So we're just going to tape this down. Tape him right in the corner. And then I'm just going to position this guy just about like that. Can't wait for you guys to see what this looks like when he's stamped. It's so cool. All right. What color do I want? I was going to use Slate, but I think I want him to be darker. I'm going to stamp him with black onyx. I'm going to just go a little bit darker. I really want him to stand out. So we'll just, I think we just need to focus. Oh yeah, we don't need all the way down there. We just need like his head. And this is, I don't know if it's plastic or glass, but it will wipe off very nicely here. So I'm not worried about that. And then with these, you do give it a good press. As Tim Holtz says, stamp it like you mean it, or stamp it with purpose. And then I'm going to go in one more time. I want him to really be black and inky. Okay. Now I want to leave the stamp there, but I want to clean it off because we're going to stamp him again using embossing ink. We can go ahead and wipe that up. We're going to put some embossing ink over the black onyx, and then we're going to dump some clear embossing powder, and that'll make him nice and shiny once we heat set. So let me grab my clear embossing powder, and this is from Ranger. Okay, and Tim Holtz is also associated with Ranger products, or Ranger Company, and Stampers Anonymous. That's who makes these stamps. And then we'll do the embossing and watermark ink. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get the ink down. This is the embossing ink, and it's just a clear, sticky ink. And it will lay on top of this ink, and this sticky ink is what the powder will adhere to. So I'm going to probably do that one more time. Okay, and then I'm going to get my catch paper open. So this is a little bit different video. I'm not die cutting anything. I'm not bringing out the die cutting machine, which one of my brothers calls the pasta maker. We're not doing any of that. We're just doing stamping and cutting paper. And this should not be a very long video because I did a lot of the cutting ahead of time. So we're just going to dump the clear. Let me just make sure I have clear embossing powder right over this guy's image, and then we will tap it off. And then you can kind of see it's coated with this powder. I don't know, you may or may not be able to see that, but you're going to see it transform here in a second. So let me just put this powder back. Get this out of the way before I get my heat tool and blow everything to smithereens. And where is, here we go. I just want to wipe down the powder that's, no matter how careful you are, powder goes everywhere. Okay, so we have this guy. And I can feel powder on the part here where I really don't want it embossed. So I'm just gonna take a brush and just go over the areas you don't want to heat set. All right, and then I'm gonna bring in my heat tool, and I'm just gonna warm this up for about 15 seconds. So this is just a heat tool that melts embossing powder. I'm just gonna heat it up. Once it gets warm, we will probably heat it from the underside first. But you'll see him turn, the color of his ink. It'll darken up and get real shiny. You can see that happening right now. Isn't that cool? I love heat embossing. With his aviator goggles. Okay. And I'm going to go over the top just to make sure it's all set. That's looking good. So it is nice and shiny at this point. Now it's still warm, so if I don't want to touch it because it'll smear, so I just want to let it cool. It'll cool pretty quickly. I'm going to set him right there, and let's go ahead and wipe our stamp, and then we're just going to assemble this card. It's really not going to be a long video. Masculine cards are really easy to make. I don't make them very often. I should back up. They're easy to make, but sometimes that's where I have the most mental block. It's like, okay, what can I do? Yeah, isn't that cool? I love heat embossing. So I'm discovering that if I want to make a masculine card, I need to pull out my Tim Holtz stamps, because his stamps, they're really easy to make masculine cards. In fact, I want to show you, hang on one second. I want to show you, hold on. I have this other stamp set, and again, I have had these from Tim Holtz. I've never used these. I should make cards with these. I should take that back. I think I've practiced with these, but aren't they cute? Like, they would make really cute cards. There's like an old phone, old typewriter. Anyway, I really need to start making more cards with these really cool stamps. Okay, so let's bring all of our pieces in. And where's the other thing I want to bring in is this really cool ribbon. It reminds me of like a fishing net or a web. And I saw this actually I bought this online. I can't remember where, but it's this really cool ribbon. And I wish I would have bought it in gold too, but I just got the silver. So what I did was I just cut a piece up the middle and then cut it off, and I got this. So it's just half the width, because we're going to put this on the card too. So this is called a fun fold card because it's a fun fold. Instead of just opening like a regular card, you know, we have this flap. And so this is where the gluing comes in. So on the inside of the card, which this is the inside, you're going to take your large piece of cardstock, the 4 by 5 1/4, and you're going to glue that down. And I'm just going to center it right here. Okay, so we got that down. And so that's the pattern. It's just kind of like a brown, like hashtags all over. And then you're going to take your other 2 panels. These were the 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. See, those are both the same. One's going to go on the inside and one's going to go out here on the outside. So let's do the inside one first. And just kind of want to see, I think I like it going that way. I don't think it really matters. All right. And we'll get that there. And I'm just trying to line it up with the edges of this first piece. And then we will glue this one. I don't know about you guys, but in my area, all the kids are going back to school. But here in Columbus, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, not every school district started yet, which there's just a few that haven't. So this is how the card is shaping up, right? Now, we also have, that's the shadow layer. We also have this piece. This measures 2.5 by 5. And where you would write your message would be on this panel. So I cut this, again, 2.5 by 5, and we can glue that here. And this is just a cream color, and it will hide. It'll tuck right under that flap, and you can write your message on that. You could even glue 3 sides and leave one of the flaps or the side flap open to put a gift card, and you could cut a notch here like a thumb hole for the person to get the gift card out. So there's a lot of, let's get this straight without my head getting in the way. I'm going to go off to the side and we'll just kind of eyeball that. All right, so that's what we have. What do you think? It's starting to shape up, huh? All right, this guy is dry now, so I'm just going to take a little towel and just wipe off any of the powder. And then we're going to glue him to the matte layer. Let me see, how did I do this? I wish I had, hang on, I do have my sample card in a picture. Let me look at it because I want to see. Okay, I have the ribbon behind everything. So let's glue this down. Let me go ahead and just make sure I have even margins all the way around so it's a nice little shadow layer. Okay, this glue is GKD Connect Glue, and when you glue things down, it's stuck. So there's a really cool shiny guy. I guess he looks like the Red Baron, like an aviator. All right, and then this is where my ribbon came. And I think what I'm going to do is just, let's see, I'm just going to put some of this tape runner down just so I can hold the ribbon in place. We're going to cut off the ends. All right. Oh, hang on, guys. There, I'm back. Sorry, my camera shut off, so I don't know where it cut off, but I just, I ran some tape runner here and I put the ribbon right on there. Okay. And then I'm just going to take this piece, and you just want to glue the part that's going to be on that panel. So what I'm going to do is lay this down, and I don't want to put glue on this side. So I'm just going to kind of make a line and add some glue there. And we will just glue this down. And I'm actually going to raise it up here just to make sure it's flush with that edge. Okay, and then we'll just hold it down. And then all that's left is I'm just going to trim the edge here. I want a little bit of it to extend. And that's it. Whoops, I got ribbon stuck to me. That is the Fun Fold card. Oh, one more thing, the greeting. How could I forget? So I made this into a birthday card, and you could put any greeting on here. You could put, you know, thinking of you or happy retirement, but I had some happy birthday wishes already made. And this one, I'm going to use this one because it's kind of brown, kind of goes with this theme. But this, again, I just stamped happy birthday with, I believe, like a white pigment ink. And then I did white embossing powder and heat set it. So the happy birthday is also shiny. It's hard to tell there. And I'm just going to take these backers off. I put these little foam adhesive dimensional squares just to give it a little lift. I'm going to take the backers off, maybe. And there we go. And I'm going to grab it with these reverse tweezers just so I can get it on there straight. And I'm going to put it right about like that. All right, that is the finished card. Isn't that cool? We got this little kind of metally looking ribbon, or a little shiny guy. But I just thought this card was so cute. Now, the Made to Create with Lisa, she had this really gorgeous tree stamp, and it just looked like a big old oak. And so she just stamped that, and she did some gold embossing. She stamped a tiny little leaf and gold embossed that, and she had real pretty paper. It was so pretty, and it was done in, I believe, greens and browns, and it really looked good. But anyway, that is my finished card. All right. And that is another live in the books. If you liked this video, and I hope you did, I'd love if you give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I don't want you to miss another video. I do a video every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Those are lives. And on Sundays, I go, or I schedule those. So Sundays at 1 p.m. and those times are Eastern. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss another video. And until next time, have a great week. See ya.